I think the movie is very good about the best in the United States about the jury system.
You think you know 12 Angry Men as the perfect courtroom drama that takes place entirely in one jury room? But the real verdict was far from certain when Henry Fonda, Lee J. Cobb, and Sidney Lumet bet everything on a risky experiment that every studio had rejected. Behind the reasoned arguments and mounting tension was a production where a first-time film director had just 16 days to shoot. A movie star mortgaged his house to finance a film with no commercial appeal, and method actors clashed so intensely that their real conflicts bled into their performances. What you're about to discover will surprise you. A former HUAC informant channeling guilt into rage, a single-room set that became genuinely oppressive, and a box office failure that somehow became one of cinema's most influential masterpieces. The jury room was a set, but the creative risks and personal demons were devastatingly real. Sidney Lumet, director Sidney Lumet's selection to direct 12 Angry Men, represented an enormous gamble. Hiring a television director with zero feature film experience to helm a theatrically risky project that broke every commercial filmmaking rule. But what made Lumet the perfect choice was precisely his live television background, which had taught him to create visual intensity within severe technical constraints. Lumet had spent years directing live dramatic television for shows like Studio One, where he learned to work quickly, manage ensemble casts, and create dynamic visuals in confined spaces. This television training proved invaluable for a film set almost entirely in one jury deliberation room with 12 actors and minimal camera setups. The 16-day shooting schedule was insanely compressed even by 1957 standards, forcing Lumet to plan meticulously before cameras rolled. He storyboarded every shot, choreographed actor movements like stage blocking, and developed a systematic visual strategy that would create psychological progression through camera technique alone. This preparation transformed potential limitations into artistic strengths that defined his entire directorial career. Henry Fonda, juror number 8. Henry Fonda's involvement in 12 Angry Men went far beyond acting. He personally produced the film, mortgaging his house and risking financial ruin to bring Reginald Rose's television play to cinema. This extraordinary commitment came from Fonda's deep belief in the story's social justice message and his willingness to sacrifice commercial security for artistic integrity. The financial risk was staggering for a major star. Studios had rejected the project repeatedly, calling it uncommercial and predicting financial disaster. A film with no women, no romance, no action, and barely any physical movement seemed designed to fail theatrically. Fonda's decision to personally finance production demonstrated either remarkable courage or reckless idealism, depending on one's perspective. Fonda's casting as juror number 8, the reasonable man who stands alone against prejudice and rushed to judgment, seemed inevitable given his established screen persona of moral authority and quiet dignity. His calm, methodical approach to challenging his fellow jurors reflected Fonda's own acting philosophy: understated naturalism rather than theatrical showiness. Lee J. Cobb, juror number 3. Lee J. Cobb's volcanic portrayal of juror number 3, the film's primary antagonist, carried secret emotional weight that audiences never suspected. His 1953 HUAC testimony, where he named Communist Party associates, haunted every moment of rage and eventual breakdown in his performance. Cobb had been blacklisted briefly before capitulating to House Un-American Activities Committee pressure, providing names of former colleagues to save his career. This betrayal tormented him psychologically, creating guilt and self-loathing that he channeled directly into juror number 3's irrational anger and desperate need to convict an innocent defendant. The method intensity Cobb brought to the role intimidated his fellow actors and created genuine tension on set. He stayed partially in character between takes, maintaining juror number 3's hostility and aggression even during breaks. This approach served his performance but made the compressed shooting schedule more psychologically demanding for everyone involved. His climactic breakdown scene, where juror number 3 finally admits his anger stems from his estranged son rather than the defendant's guilt, became one of cinema's most devastating emotional moments precisely because Cobb was accessing real regret about his own moral failures. The ensemble cast secrets. The supporting jurors in 12 Angry Men weren't merely background players. Each actor brought unexpected depth to characters who could have been one-dimensional stereotypes, creating an ensemble where every performance mattered equally to the film's success. Ed Begley's portrayal of juror number 10, the bigoted garage owner whose racist rant eventually disgusts even his allies, proved particularly challenging. Begley was politically liberal and personally opposed to the prejudices his character embodied, making the role psychologically uncomfortable. His ability to inhabit such repulsive views convincingly while maintaining personal distance demonstrated remarkable acting skill. Jack Warden's juror number 7, seemingly the film's comic relief as the baseball fan desperate to leave deliberations, revealed unexpected complexity through Warden's performance choices. His character's casual indifference to justice proved as dangerous as Cobb's rage, showing how apathy enables injustice as effectively as active prejudice. E.G. Marshall brought intellectual precision to juror number 4, the stockbroker whose logical arguments against the defendant seemed unassailable until systematic examination revealed their flaws. Marshall's performance demonstrated how intelligence without empathy could serve prejudice as effectively as ignorance. Reginald Rose's original vision. Reginald Rose's script for 12 Angry Men originated from his personal experience serving on a murder trial jury, where he witnessed how prejudice, personality conflicts, and rush thinking nearly resulted in convicting a potentially innocent defendant. This authentic foundation gave the drama psychological realism that purely fictional courtroom stories lacked. Rose's genius was recognizing that the deliberation process itself contained inherent dramatic tension without requiring artificial plot devices or manufactured suspense. The simple premise, one dissenting juror gradually convincing 11 others to reconsider their guilty verdict, provided structure for exploring American justice system flaws and social prejudices. The decision to never show the defendant or trial proceedings was deliberately provocative, forcing audiences to experience events entirely through juror perspectives and debates. This constraint emphasized that reasonable doubt didn't require proving innocence, only identifying sufficient uncertainty to prevent conviction. Rose's dialogue achieved near perfection that actors found impossible to improve through improvisation. Every word served character development or thematic purpose, with seemingly casual conversations revealing deeper prejudices and assumptions. The script's economy and precision made it essentially actor-proof. Competent performers would inevitably create powerful drama simply by delivering Rose's words accurately. The claustrophobic production. The single jury room set could have been 12 Angry Men's fatal limitation, but Sidney Lumet transformed spatial constraint into psychological weapon through systematic visual strategy that intensified claustrophobia as deliberations progressed and tensions mounted. Lumet began filming with wide-angle lenses and elevated camera positions that made the room appear spacious and neutral. As the story progressed, he gradually shifted to longer lenses and lower angles that compressed space and made the environment feel increasingly oppressive. This subtle progression created subconscious audience discomfort that matched the jurors' rising tensions without obvious manipulation. The production designer deliberately made the set uncomfortably warm, with minimal air circulation and bright lighting that created genuine physical discomfort for actors wearing wool suits. This wasn't sadism, but method environment. Lumet wanted actors genuinely hot, tired, and irritable so their performances would reflect authentic discomfort rather than theatrical pretense. The shooting schedule's compression paradoxically enhanced authenticity as actors experienced their own version of the jury's ordeal, trapped together in confined space under pressure to reach resolution within limited time. Critical acclaim versus box office failure. 12. Angry Men's initial theatrical release proved the commercial disaster that studios had predicted, earning barely $2 million against its modest budget and confirming industry skepticism about talk pictures without stars, romance, or spectacle appealing to mass audiences. The Academy Awards provided some vindication with 3 Oscar nominations: Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Adapted Screenplay. But the film lost all 3 categories to The Bridge on the River Kwai. This defeat seemed to confirm that intimate character drama couldn't compete with epic spectacle for Hollywood's highest honors. Paradoxically, the film's television origins hurt its theatrical appeal. Audiences questioned why they should pay to see in theaters what felt like television content, especially when the single-room setting and ensemble cast resembled live TV drama aesthetics. The medium's association with free home entertainment undermined theatrical value proposition. European audiences and critics responded more enthusiastically than Americans, with the film winning the Golden Bear at the Berlin Film Festival. This international appreciation suggested that the film's themes of justice and prejudice resonated beyond American cultural context. The transformation from commercial failure to essential classic happened gradually through television broadcasts, home video releases, and educational adoption. The race and class subtext. 12 Angry Men's exploration of prejudice was remarkably bold for 1957 mainstream cinema, directly confronting racial discrimination, economic bias, and generational conflict that most Hollywood films avoided or softened for commercial appeal. The Puerto Rican defendant, though never shown on screen, became the focal point for examining ethnic prejudice in post-war America. Several jurors expressed openly racist assumptions about the defendant's guilt based purely on his ethnicity and neighborhood, reflecting attitudes that were socially acceptable to voice publicly in the 1950s. Juror number 10's climactic racist rant, where he lumps those people together with sweeping prejudice generalizations, represented the film's most direct confrontation with bigotry. The other jurors' response, literally turning their backs and walking away from him, provided a powerful visual metaphor for social rejection of explicit racism. Economic class tensions divided the jury as significantly as racial attitudes. Working-class jurors resented the educated, wealthy jurors' assumptions of intellectual superiority, while upper-class members dismissed working-class perspectives as uninformed. These class conflicts revealed how economic position shaped perception of justice and identification with either defendant or victim. Conservative critics attacked the film as liberal propaganda that undermined law enforcement and encouraged sympathy for criminals. This political backlash demonstrated how even a story about reasonable doubt could become controversial when it challenged assumptions about guilt, punishment, and who deserved legal protection. The method acting conflicts. The 12 Angry Men set became a battleground between competing acting philosophies, with Lee J. Cobb's intense method approach clashing against Henry Fonda's more traditional controlled naturalism, creating genuine tension that paradoxically enhanced on-screen conflict. Fonda, trained in classical Hollywood acting, believed in technical precision, consistent performance across takes, and emotional control that served the character without overwhelming the actor. He found method acting's emphasis on personal emotional excavation and staying in character between takes to be self-indulgent and unprofessional. Cobb's method intensity, where he maintained juror number 3's rage and hostility even during breaks, made Fonda uncomfortable and occasionally annoyed. Fonda viewed acting as a craft requiring discipline and separation between performer and role, making Cobb's approach seem like unnecessary drama that complicated an already demanding production schedule. The performance hierarchy that emerged wasn't based on screen time, but on whose acting philosophy dominated each scene. Cobb's method intensity commanded attention during confrontational moments, while Fonda's restraint proved more effective during scenes requiring logical persuasion and calm reasoning. Legacy and Influence 12. Angry Men's evolution from box office disappointment to cultural touchstone demonstrates how some films require time to find their audience and achieve their proper recognition as essential cinema. Law schools adopted the film as required viewing for courses on jury deliberation, reasonable doubt, and legal ethics. Its portrayal of how 12 strangers navigate disagreement to reach consensus became a teaching tool for understanding American justice system ideals, even if the reality often fell short. International remakes and adaptations proliferated worldwide, with versions produced in Russia, Japan, China, and numerous other countries adapting the jury room drama to their own legal systems and cultural contexts. This global resonance proved that the film's themes transcended its specifically American setting. 12 Angry Men proved that the greatest risks sometimes yield the greatest rewards. Lumet, Fonda, and 12 actors didn't just make a courtroom drama. They created a timeless examination of justice, prejudice, and the courage required to stand alone against the crowd. Subscribe to discover more incredible stories behind cinema's most daring and influential masterpieces.